Something shifts the moment you open your mouth today, Leo, and you may already sense it before you understand why. A conversation feels different. Your words land harder than usual, maybe too hard. Someone across the table looks a little more startled by your directness than you expected. There is a reason for that intensity, and there is also a warning folded inside it that most people watching the sky today will completely miss. Because while your voice is about to feel louder and more magnetic than it has in months, this same energy carries a very specific way to sabotage itself in the next few hours, and the fix is not what you would assume. The bigger picture. Today's sky is built around one dominant event: Mercury moving into a close conjunction with Jupiter, both sitting in your own sign and lighting up your first house of self. From a Western tropical lens, this is the house of identity, appearance, and how you present yourself to the world. So this pairing turns up the volume on everything you say, wear, or claim about yourself. Mercury governs communication, Jupiter governs expansion, and when they meet in your own sign, the natural result is confidence that spills outward, sometimes before you have fully thought it through. This is not an isolated blip either. Jupiter has just begun a fresh cycle, moving into new territory in your chart that astrologers describe as the exterior zone, the part of your life tied to distant places, reputation beyond your usual circles, and opportunities that live outside your immediate neighborhood. Whatever house Jupiter is now activating tends to open outward, and today's Mercury contact essentially hands you the megaphone to start using that expansion. Here is where the sky adds its complication. As the moon shifts today, the tone underneath all this bold self-expression starts to change. From the Western tropical view, the moon is already drifting into Libra, a sign obsessed with weighing both sides before committing. In Vedic or sidereal tradition, which calculates the zodiac roughly 24 degrees earlier, the moon may still be finishing its pass through meticulous Virgo. Two respected systems, two slightly different pictures of the same day, and both are useful. One tells you that your emotional undertone right now favors careful analysis and double-checking details. The other tells you that indecision and second-guessing are creeping in even as your mouth is moving faster than your judgment. Put those together, and you get today's real story. A Leo who feels unusually sure of what to say, sitting right next to a Leo who is not actually sure yet what to do. Love. You may feel ready today to say something you have been holding back, a confession, an invitation, maybe even something close to a declaration. Mercury sitting with Jupiter in your sign does not just boost your confidence, it makes other people more receptive to your warmth than usual. So if you have been waiting for a moment when someone will actually hear you, this leans in your favor. But here is the tension worth sitting with for a second. The same energy that makes your words land also makes restraint feel unbearably boring right now. You may be tempted to promise more than you have actually thought through, or to turn a warm moment into something bigger than it needs to be. If you are in a relationship, this can genuinely deepen closeness today, since the placement favors expressive affection and feeling truly seen by your partner. If you are single, this is a day when your presence draws attention in rooms, conversations, and introductions you did not expect. The unanswered question sitting underneath all of this is simple. Do you actually mean what you are about to say, or are you swept up in how good it feels to say it? The Libra-leaning moon later in the day offers the answer. It nudges you toward listening and negotiating instead of just declaring, which means the version of today that works best is not the one where you say the most, it is the one where you say something specific enough to be believed. A grand gesture, without a believable detail underneath it, tends to lose its warmth fast. One clear, honest sentence about what you actually want will do more for you today than an entire speech. Career. That same tightrope between confidence and overreach follows you straight into work. You may notice yourself speaking up in a meeting, pitching an idea, or introducing yourself in a way that finally gets you noticed. That is the gift of Mercury and Jupiter meeting in your sign. People are more inclined to take your ideas seriously today, and you are more inclined to actually voice them instead of sitting quietly. The risk professionals should watch for is filling the room before anyone else gets a chance to meet you halfway. Confidence becomes a liability the moment it turns into talking over people or mistaking how loud you are for how convincing you are. If you have been feeling overlooked at work lately, today may hand you the visibility you wanted, but only if you pair that visibility with something concrete. A vague announcement about your ambitions will not move anyone. A specific, well-timed statement about what you want next might. This is also where Jupiter's bigger, longer cycle becomes relevant again. If your work involves anything connected to distant markets, out-of-town clients, travel, or building a reputation beyond your usual circle, today's assertiveness can serve as the opening move in something larger. Grab whatever tool represents your version of a relaunch, a portfolio, a pitch, a new profile, and use today's confidence to put it in front of people. Just remember that the Libra-tinged undertone of the day favors follow-through and fairness over impulsive declarations, so do not sign anything final without giving yourself room to think. Money. What begins as a workplace opportunity can quietly turn into a financial decision, and this is exactly where today's chart asks for a pause. Several currents point toward the same caution. Examine any new investment carefully, prioritize logically, and resist decisions made purely on today's confident mood. The expansive Jupiter energy fueling your voice can also inflate your sense of what you can afford or commit to, so it is worth separating how bold you feel from how sound a purchase or agreement actually is. A small financial surprise may land in your favor today, which is a pleasant note, but the instinct to spend it immediately deserves a second look. If you run a business or manage a budget, this is a day to plan rather than react, weighing benefits against drawbacks before moving forward with anything that is not reversible. Interestingly, the sky itself hands you a useful window for exactly this kind of decision-making. Many traditions point to the early afternoon hours, roughly between 2 and 4 of the clock, as a stretch of the day when your judgment steadies and financial or scheduling decisions tend to go more smoothly. Health. Here is the part of today's sky that is easy to miss if you are only listening for the loud, exciting parts. All that outward confidence, all that talking, declaring, and reaching for bigger stages, it takes something out of you, and the sign that something needs tending is not dramatic. It is quiet. It shows up as restlessness at night, a body that feels wired even after a long day of being on. What looks like simple busyness today may actually be your nervous system asking for a reset it has not gotten in a while. The guidance here is refreshingly practical. Prioritize real sleep and consider cutting back on sugary, carbonated drinks that spike energy you do not actually need more of right now. This is not a random wellness tip attached at the end. It directly answers the tension built into today's chart. You are being handed more voice, more visibility, more expansion, and your body needs the recovery to match the output. If your work or personality naturally pulls you toward alternative healing systems, some Vedic practitioners may recommend remedies tied to specific planetary influences, certain gemstones, colors, or mantras for people whose birth charts individually support them. This is not universal advice, and gemstone prescription in particular requires real chart analysis rather than a blanket recommendation for an entire sign. What is universally safe, though, is simpler than any stone. Rest, hydration, and giving your voice a break after using it so freely today. Home and family. The same tendency to speak first and think later does not stop at the office door. At home, you may find yourself more expressive than usual with family or the people you live with, more willing to say exactly what is on your mind. Used well, this can clear the air on something that has been sitting unspoken for a while. Used carelessly, it can turn a small disagreement into something bigger than it needed to be. especially if the moment tips into combative territory rather than honest territory. If you sense a conversation getting heated today, that fickle, libra-toned undertone in the background is actually your ally here. It is the part of the sky that favors listening as much as speaking, weighing someone else's perspective instead of only pushing your own. A little diplomacy stretched over an otherwise blunt day can turn a potential blow-up into a genuinely useful conversation, the kind where everyone leaves feeling heard rather than talked over. Travel and spirit. Jupiter's fresh cycle through the more distant, outward-facing part of your chart makes this a meaningful day to think beyond your immediate surroundings, even if you are not physically going anywhere yet. If travel is on your mind, today favors curiosity, sampling something unfamiliar, whether that is a new place, a new cuisine, or simply a new way of thinking about where you might go next. If you are traveling, enjoying the local flavor of wherever you are is well supported, though a little caution with anything sold on the street is worth keeping in mind. On a deeper level, this is a good day to consciously release something from the past that no longer earns space in your life. The instinct to speak boldly and start fresh is not only social, it is also personal. Letting go does not have to be dramatic. Sometimes it looks like closing one chapter quietly, so you have room to build the next one with a clearer head. Lucky signs. Blue carries useful energy for you today, particularly if you are making decisions that involve money or negotiation. The window between 2 and 4 in the afternoon favors important conversations, meetings, or financial choices more than earlier or later hours. Compatible energy today tends to favor people who balance your directness with patience, since that pairing helps channel today's boldness into something productive rather than combustible. Today's guidance. By now, the shape of today should feel clearer than it did at the start. Your voice carries further today, your presence draws more attention, and people are unusually open to what you have to say. But the same energy that hands you the microphone can just as easily talk you into overselling a moment, overspending on an impulse, or overwhelming a room before anyone else gets a word in. The fix is not to shrink. It is to add precision to your confidence. Say the specific thing instead of the sweeping thing. Choose the financial decision you have actually thought through instead of the one that feels good in the moment. Rest your voice tonight the way you would rest any tool you used hard all day. What felt at the start of this like unpredictable intensity is really just Leo's natural light turned up a notch, waiting for a little direction. Give it that direction today, and this stops being a day you have to manage carefully. It becomes one where you finally get to be heard exactly the way you meant to be.